I spent a month in Vasa, Finland. I was in Finland for about 1 month or 4 weeks, and I was there because I needed to finish my degree, and I was able to do my last 4 weeks of student teaching abroad, so I decided that's what I wanted to do. I was there with one of my friends, so we kind of just did everything together. My specialty is art and hers is music, so we went to our respective classes every day, and we learned a lot. Schools are a lot different than American schools, so it's interesting to see the difference. There's a lot to say about this trip, so I'm going to start with first arriving in the country and going through like TSA and all of that stuff. Long story short, it was a nightmare. I almost passed out on the plane ride because I just don't do well in planes. And then TSA, my phone was almost dead and I couldn't pull up any of the documents I needed. Like they wanted to see my acceptance letter for the training school, couldn't find it. I searched through my email for probably 10 minutes, couldn't find it. Thankfully my friend was able to find hers and they let me through. And I was very stressed at this point. I just wanted to be at the Airbnb, I was so sick of it. So we got through everything eventually, and then we had one more 1-hour flight to Vasa, and that went surprisingly well. Did not get sick on the plane, was really good. It took us a while to find the Airbnb, but we found it and everything was fine. That was the worst part of the trip. So thankfully the rest was just up from there. One thing about me is when I travel, I always try to go to the Starbucks and McDonald's because I'm American, so I think it's cool. And even though I had so many issues getting into the country, I had to get a Starbucks. The first week there was pretty chill. We just went to classes and walked around the town, went to some like convenience stores, saw some art. There was a couple events that we went to. It was pretty cool. So here's just some pictures of the town and me trying Finnish food and McDonald's, of course, like I said. But the first Finnish food I tried was vispipuro. It was so good. It's basically like a lingonberry porridge of sorts, but it was so refreshing and I already miss it. If you want to know the verdict of trying McDonald's in Finland, pretty good. Not like super crazy compared to the US, but pretty good nonetheless. A lot of our evenings consisted of just walking around the town and seeing what there is to do. Since we're in classes all day, we didn't have a lot of time to travel out of Vasa. So this is the mall, Revel, and there was an espresso house in there we frequented. And the statue you see in the back there, I guess it's called like the Statue of Liberty of Finland. Our Airbnb was about maybe a 10-minute walk to the school. And also in the vicinity was the 2 malls, Revel and another one, I think it was Espen, and a K-City market and a Sale. Those are both like convenience stores or grocery stores. So there's good things in the area. After our first week in Finland, we decided we wanted to go to another country. We took the Vasa line ferry to Sweden. The Vasa line ferry takes you from Vasa, Finland to Umeå, Sweden. I want to say it was maybe like a 3 or 4 hour ferry ride. I can't remember. But once we landed, we just got on a bus and went to the city center. There really wasn't much planning in this part of our trip. We decided to just go and see what we could do. It happened to be that when we got there was some climate change protests, which was interesting to see. But we went and got coffee a lot, we got burgers, just kind of explored. We were originally going to not get a hotel and just stay up all night and roam the city, but it was very cold and there's other reasons we couldn't do that. So yeah, that didn't work. But my friend ended up trying sushi for the first time and she loved it. And we proceeded to go to 2 more sushi buffets in Finland after that. We wanted to explore some restaurants in Umeå and we gave like tapas a shot. The pictures looked pretty good, except for when we went to the restaurant. We sat there for an hour because it was a QR code text type menu. Did not work for our foreign phones. So we waited an hour, and then when we got the food, I did not realize tapas were so small. You're going to see a picture of my hand next to a little fork. Like, it was crazy. We ended up getting burgers after that. Yeah, there's the fork next to my hand. Even though we had some issues with that restaurant, I was still able to get some pretty photos, and overall we enjoyed our time in Sweden. This drink you're seeing right now, that was pretty good though, so. And there's a tapas, we just got one. The place we probably went to the most was the espresso house because I can't live without coffee, so. Fun fact about daytime and nighttime in like Finland or Sweden or like up there is that it doesn't get dark until really late, so it really threw off my sleep schedule. Like by the time I left, which was like middle of May, it wouldn't get dark until maybe midnight. Here's a picture I took. That's a view from our hotel room. That was the bed looking like out to the window. We could see so much, like the river, the town, and they had free breakfast in the morning. So it was like meats, cheeses, breads, really good. So then the next day we tried to stick next to a bus stop. That's the one they dropped us off at. We were not sure where they were picking us up, so we just hoped for the best. Didn't buy any tickets in advance or anything, just winged it. But it worked. They picked us up and we got back to Finland safely. We probably got to this bus stop like an hour and a half early, just so we wouldn't miss it. So we ended up walking around the area, seeing the birch trees, a little bit more of the town that we didn't see the day before. And I took a really cute photo on like some statue turtles, adorable. See, look at them. How could I resist that? And then at this point, everybody was lining up at the bus stop, and the bus came, and we got back on the Vasa line ferry, and we went back to Vasa. And when I tell you we went through winter to spring to winter to spring, I'm not lying, because when we got back, it snowed like crazy. And apparently they don't use salt on their sidewalks, so there was many times where me and my friend fell in the ice. It was crazy going to school every morning. But when it came for the ice to melt a little bit, it was more bearable. At one point we went to trivia and I fell down the icy stairs. I think this was our second week in Finland that we got to go to Tampere with the music department, and the elementary kids have been practicing these songs for a while, and this concert was like a sing-along where they could sing these songs they were practicing, and it was this huge event and it was very fun. Even though I didn't know any of the songs, the kids really enjoyed it. I'm really glad that we got the chance to travel while we were traveling. There was a lot to do in Vasa, but I'm a city girl and I love big cities. So going to Amau, going to Tampere, it was nice to get some variation on a month-long trip. So as you saw in my free time, I just explored the city and took some photos, and I tried to catch some pigeons. I got some bread, I'd keep it in my pocket just in case I saw some wild pigeons. And there was an old person gave me a dirty look when I was trying to feed them one time. Was not happy after that. When I went to Japan last year, I picked up a lot of pigeons and played with them, and they loved eating the bread out of my hand. So I was hoping the same thing would happen in Finland, but not one single bird would let me pick them up. Here's some photos of Vappu, which is like their graduation spring celebration, I guess. So here's a video of that. Basically what happened is they had put a hat on a statue. Since Vasa was home to Obo Academy, the university students would wear those special pants. So you can see some red pairs there. There's also yellow, white, black, some other colors. And they do events in the city and get patches for those. So there's a statue with its hat on. It was only there for about a day, but the celebration was still cool to experience. In Vappu, there's that festival/fair thing you're seeing right now, but also they eat these special donuts, and it's called lima or mjöd, depending on if it's Swedish or Finnish, and those are also pretty tasty. This is a car show that I recorded. I originally went to the beach to the Vasa sign, and I was walking back because I wanted to go home, and I got stuck in this car show, and it was probably a good 30 minutes of these old cars just riding around. If you're a big car person, consider going to Vasa around the Vappu holiday. The next weekend trip we had planned was to go to Estonia. So once Friday hit, we took the train to Helsinki, spent the whole day there. We walked around. I think I got 7 miles in. Then we took the ferry to Estonia, specifically Tallinn, and I met one of my friends there. We haven't seen each other in 4 years. She was an exchange student at my high school, and she left because of COVID, so it was nice to see her again after such a long time. She came up from Lithuania, we came down from Vasa, so we met about halfway, and we spent 1.5 days in Tallinn together. So these next photos you're going to see are from both Helsinki and Tallinn. I think I said it before, but I much more prefer the city than the towns. So I love seeing the architecture, the tall buildings, all the cafes, the shopping. just everything. And I didn't know about this character before I came to Finland, but I love Moomin. He's this little troll guy made from Finland, and there's like some Moomin shops, and it was so cute. We also got to go to the Vasa cafe, and let me tell you, Finland knows how to make chocolate. My bag was already pretty heavy coming to Finland, so I was scared what it would weigh by the time I came back with souvenirs. And unfortunately, most of my souvenirs were chocolate. I probably had about 10 bars in my bag. So I was very nervous I'd have to pay like an overweight fee. But I managed to get around it, but my back hurt from carrying such a heavy backpack. I also brought back salmiakki if you ever try it. Good luck. The Finns love it, but I don't. My side quest while in Helsinki was to find a place that BTS visited while they were there. So I dragged my friend around the city to find this Ferris wheel that BTS took a photo in front of. And the tickets were pretty cheap, so I got to ride in it too. It was a great experience, and then we saw some like vendors around in the area. And I bought some Moomin earrings, which you'll see in a few photos. And they were also selling some antler stuff, but I didn't want to mess around with that. I already have bad luck with TSA. I don't want to get taken aside because I'm smuggling reindeer antlers or something. We didn't have a huge plan going around Helsinki, so it was just walk around and find something, and there was a lot of stuff to do. There were a couple cathedrals that we went inside of, and they were so beautiful. It had so much art in it, and I loved it. This was my first time in Europe, so I kind of just went to see what was there, besides having to student teach, you know. But before this, I'd only been to like Canada and then Asia, so Europe was very different. I had gone to South Korea 2 years ago now, and I went to Japan last year. So seeing the difference in architecture, things to do, animals, and everything was a completely different experience than what I had done before. And let's pause for a second and look at this emo goose. While you're looking at some photos of Helsinki, I'll talk more about my experience in Finland. One thing I did not expect before coming, I didn't even think about, was the day and nighttime cycles. I figured it'd be pretty similar to the US, but it wasn't. It didn't get dark until about 11 or 12 p.m., so it completely threw off my sleep cycle. By the time I got that cue that maybe I should go to bed, it was already like 11 o'clock, and I'd have to get up for school early the next morning and be at class by 8. And then by the time we were leaving the country, which is a story you'll hear at the end of the video, we got stuck outside for 5 hours in 30-degree weather. It was not dark except for maybe 2 or 3 hours, so it was very strange. But it was also very cool. One other good thing about Finland is the food quality, especially compared to the US. Their food, you can actually taste the ingredients. I know that sounds weird, but America, eating a pizza, it's pizza flavored, right? But in Finland, I ordered some frozen pizzas from the store, and I cooked them up, took a bite. I could taste the tomatoes, I could taste the bread, taste the cheese. Did not expect it, but the food quality is so great and my stomach felt so good. It was hard to get used to at first because nothing hit the spot, so I was unsatisfied for the first maybe week, but then I got over it, and then I liked the food. But on the opposite side, coming back, I got pop in the airport when I was coming back in Dallas, and it tasted disgusting. I took 2 drinks and I couldn't do it. Even being back now for a week, I'm still not really craving pop. But what I was craving, iced coffee. Finland is really good about hot coffee. It's the best hot coffee I've ever had, and I loved ordering at the cafes. But iced coffee, it does not match to the US. I was really missing some scooters. I don't know what it is about their iced coffee. It's not bad, but it's not mixed in. It's kind of black coffee, ice, with syrup on the sides, so it wasn't what I was used to. I still drink it nonetheless because I love iced coffee no matter what. Okay, with all that aside, back to the trip. Helsinki, we spent the whole day in Helsinki, and the pictures you're seeing now is a little body of water. We didn't take any buses at this time. We walked from the main train station all the way down to the ferry port. But this is the only chance we got to see Helsinki, so I'm definitely glad we did it. I wouldn't have wanted to leave without seeing Helsinki, because it's the capital, and how can you leave without seeing that? And then we got on the ferry. The ferry ride wasn't too long, maybe 2 or 3 hours, I can't even remember. And then we were in Tallinn. We took a Bolt ride to the Airbnb. I've never even been in an Uber, so I didn't know what to expect, but oh my gosh, I could not drive in Europe, or maybe it was just Estonia. But they drive really quick, and they get really close to the cars in front of them before hitting the brakes, and I was scared. But we got there safely, so I guess it was okay in the end. Then here's some photos of Estonia. It was also very beautiful. The old town was definitely worth visiting, but other than that, in my opinion, there really wasn't much else to do. There were a lot of souvenir shops around, so if you were looking for Estonian souvenirs, there was no shortage. And I thought we walked a lot in Helsinki. I walked 8 miles in Estonia. So I was really putting in the work that weekend. We were trying to find a place to eat, and there's this big courtyard place in the middle of Old Town. And when you're in Estonia, what do you eat? We had burgers again. Surprise, surprise. But as an American, what else are you supposed to do? The burgers were delicious. Now that I spent a month abroad, I should have plenty more photos for my art. When I paint, I take the photos from the places I've traveled to and I arrange them on the canvas. And then what I do is just paint that, so when I hang them on my wall or look at them in my studio, I can see all the places I've been to. It's kind of just a visual record of the things I've done. It'll be interesting to see how my art changes from my past trips to this one, because like I said, it's my first time in Europe, and Europe looks very different than Korea and Japan. Korea and Japan are very busy, flashy, colorful, lots of people, tall buildings, bright lights. Europe is more subtle and not as bright and more old looking, so I think that'll really reflect in my paintings. Here's a photo of a statue that I saw. There's a couple of them around the city, and they're just little pigeon statues that were so cute. And then as far as things to do in Tallinn, Estonia, my friend found some guide on the internet that she was following, and it showed like several points of interest. So she was like our tour guide, and we just followed her around. This incline, I was terrible to walk up. I was so tired, but there was a beautiful overlook at the end of it. This is another church that we went inside of. I wasn't really sure what was going on. There's like something in the middle of the church, and then people were paying their respects. I don't know if we crashed a funeral or what, but there was a lot of people, and there's a lot of art like the one in Helsinki. And then here's a view of the city, specifically the Old Town. Yeah. And while you see some more photos of Tallinn, I'll talk about the Finnish school system. The first thing I noticed about the Finnish school system was that I think it's more student-centered. Like there's more comfortable seating. Some of the classrooms had couches, comfy chairs, regular chairs, and the students had more freedom to like walk around and do their own thing. They also care about the arts and also knowledge of the world. Like I think I was in a first grade or second grade classroom, and they were learning all the countries in Europe and their capitals. That would not happen in the US. I couldn't name every country in their capital. Side note, there was a little group performing in the courtyard, so here's the clip of that. They're just having a good time. And then here's that burger I talked about earlier. Anyways, back to the Finnish school system. They had a lot of art classes, not just fine arts like painting and stuff, but they also had sewing, crocheting, woodworking, and special art things like that. They learned a lot of practical skills, and they also had coding classes at a young age. And this is just a me thing, but one thing I enjoyed about Finland, especially the schools, was that they called me by my first name. I didn't have to go like by Miss, Mrs., whatever. They called me by my first name, and I prefer that. Even as I prepare to teach in the States, I still want to go by my first name. Okay, anyway, so back to the photos. We left Tallinn, took the ferry back to Helsinki. So here's some more Helsinki photos for our way back. This was some little sitting park that I saw on TikTok, and it was right behind a sushi place and also next to a Moomin shop. So just a nice little area to eat lunch and see some more things. Here's a picture of another Starbucks. Apparently, I think there's 3 Starbucks in the whole country of Finland. So I happened to go to 2 of them. I didn't see the third one, but 2 out of 3 is pretty good. So my goals coming to Finland were go to McDonald's, went there, go to Starbucks, went there. And those are 2 just like the fun things I like to do. It's not that serious. I really wanted to catch a pigeon though, but none of them would get in my hand, so didn't do that. Went to an art gallery, some concerts, managed to visit 2 other countries while staying in Finland. And then comes time to come home. My flight was at 5:50 a.m. from the Vasa airport. Me and my friend left with the last bus the day before, and we planned to stay inside the airport until my flight left. We didn't realize the airport closed, so what we had to do was sit outside in the freezing cold for 5 hours. I almost lost my toes. It was not fun. It was like 30-degree weather, and for whatever reason, my friend got the zoomies and had so much energy, and I wanted to be home. I was so ready to be back in the States at this point. So here's a clip I took on my video camera as we were dying in the cold.
Hour 1.
It's 10 something.
10:30-ish.
We're
I'm
good.
gonna die! Look, it's dead.
We're here until 4 a.m.
Thanks to someone.
Not me.